Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Brahmanandam Param Sukhadam Kevalam Gyan Murtim Dvandvatitam Gagana Sadrisham Tatvamasyadi Lakshyam Ekam Nityam Vimalamachalam Sarvadhi Sakshi Bhutam Bhavatitam Trigunarahitam Sadgurum Tam Namami. Om. Adorations to Sadguru, who is Brahman, the giver of supreme bliss, embodiment of pure consciousness, one without a second, vast as the ether, infinite, eternal, beyond the three gunas and their modifications, the supreme preceptor. Yoga Vasistha, in Sthiti Prakarana, section 22. The qualities that characterize self-realization. The very important, the ideal topic, because everyone wants to attain self-realization. Sage Vasishtha continued, he who is endowed with viveka will lead you from step to step. Viveka is discriminative knowledge. It is not ordinary function of intellect. Intellect has two functions. Intellect that gathers a lot of information. It becomes your Google. Intellect that gives you insight. An intellect that allows you to put your iPad out of your sight. Jokingly I'm saying, intellect that allows you to have the revelation, Brahman alone exists. That subtle change that occurs in your intellect from the level of gathering information to the level of being insightful, and to the level where it becomes intuitional. To another point of view, advanced point of view, as impurities move away and are sublimated, your intellect gains a greater clarity. Intellect that is simply gathering information and handling the world with many heads. Ravana had only 10. I'm joking. That intellect has practical value, but that will not lead you to liberation. As impurities move away, as you learn the art of integral yoga in life, and you begin to turn your action into karma yoga, do your duties with that type of understanding and insight that you are worshipping God through the performance of your actions, that you are not living your life in vain. You are not creating a contradiction in your mind. I want to attain enlightenment, but what can I do? I have to work in the office. Whatever you are doing is in divine plan. Do your best as if you are worshipping God. So that type of subtle change that occurs in your intellect. Then your intellect becomes more and more insightful. It understands each problem that comes. Intellect gives you deep insight. If the intellect is dull, whenever a problem comes, the Google gives you the idea, somebody caused me this problem. So that state of intellect is impure intellect, which does finger pointing. 3 fingers point to you, don't care. But 1 finger, that's what rattles your mind. That's gross intellect. So that's Viveka movement again is not one-step movement. It's progressive. As you go on purifying yourself by action, devotion, meditation, and insightful thinking, reflection. All this must blend in your life. And then you begin to discover your insight grows deeper and deeper. Your inner sensitivity has no limit. Therefore, aspirants have to have good guidance and training. When you have gained little insight, suddenly it appears to you know everything. Now you have attained enlightenment. Something has happened that kept 1 week of yours free of any, very calm and relaxed. I actually received that type of email. That I have attained enlightenment, good news. And I have had such wonderful dreams. I saw greatest deity is coming to me, blessing me, congratulating me for my enlightenment. First point, the experience was very sattvic. Therefore, you had that type of experience. It is very joyous. But to consider that as your goal, that's dull-wit mind. Because you don't live by dream, you live by your daily cream. Live by your daily life, how you live, how you face your challenges. So do not maintain a historical view of your spiritual progress. Whatever has been in the past, outgrow it. Don't think that was the highest I had. I had attained enlightenment and that's it. No, much is waiting for you. And that type of spirit must be there. Mind should not shut off the idea of exploring more and more and more. Mind should not develop the idea, oh, I have now come to complete understanding. Only what will happen if you have really come to a right stage of enlightenment, your daily life will continue. But what will happen? It will become effortless. Tree is growing day by day, but there's no worry about it. And it's just simile. Keeping that in view, let me go on presenting how the Yoga Vasistha is presenting. He who is endowed with viveka, whose chitta is illumined by increasing knowledge. This is what it means, increasing knowledge. He who is renouncing the vrittis pertaining to the objects of the world, Vishaya vritti. As insight develops, become aware of a higher reality governing your personality. Your mind does not remain engrossed with worldly thoughts. Worldly thoughts again are in two stages. Vishaya vritti, things of worldly pleasure, eat, drink, be merry. Just take the word eat. There are so many things to eat. One life is not enough. Drink, that's another dimension. Be merry. Human life is constantly involved with how to be joyous according to their mental concept, not real happiness. As long as they are looking for happiness in the worldly set, that you will not find satisfaction, because happiness is not happiness. All worldly condition goes on changing. So if you are happy with a particular house, you can't remain happy because the house has its own problems. I'm just joking, but nothing in the world is permanent. And even your own desires, today you think that a particular situation will be, or particular gain will be the greatest source of happiness. But soon you will change your mind. By that time you have collected lots of rasgullas, you discover you have diabetes. So, what can a person do? For the masses, Vishaya vritti, thinking in these terms, eat, drink, be merry, and live your life constantly with excitement. That's the only life you can live. Not so. As you follow the path of sadhana, you begin to discover an internal source of joy. Source through calmness of your mind, through serenity, through a sense of unloaded mind. Mind has a load of subconscious desires. As long as it's extremely subconscious, load is there, but your mind plays the role of a donkey. Carries the load, who cares? And then the load where you become aware of so many, and your imagination brings loads that are not there. You imagine. There's a parable. A tree was told that a big storm is coming. In a spiritual way of saying, a wind god has decided to strike against you tomorrow. And so a bird informs the tree that by tomorrow the wind god is coming and will demolish you, crush you. Now the tree, all through the night, began to imagine the impact of the wind upon its tender branches, on its flowers. The flowers were shed by the tree, the branches broke away. By in imagination, the tree went on shaking to such an extent that it became completely like a skeleton standing. And by the time the wind began to blow, the wind god said, "And I never intended to hurt you that much. I wanted to give you a slap, but not that much. You did it to yourself." Human mind acts unwittingly, creating lots of stress, which is not, even from practical point of view, it is irrational. But the mind develops that type of strange behavior. But as you begin to move away from Vishaya Chintan, you unload your mind, your unconscious. Your mind works with more serenity, more rest. And as mind goes on moving away from Vishaya Vritti, thoughts for the pleasures of the objects, moving away from that type of thinking, thoughts relating to faith, inner strength, dispassion, and ascending steps to enlightenment, when mind becomes involved that way, this is now being described. Let me read it to you. He who is renouncing the vrittis pertaining to the objects of the world, who is rising above the internal and external differentiations of consciousness by the intense practice of samadhi, he alone truly experiences increasing joy. To make it very simple, remember the northern path presented in the Gita, called Uttarayana, gives the allegorical way. If you are on the right path leading to enlightenment, these will be the steps. Agni, Jyoti, Aha, Shukla. Agni is literally fire, but it is a fire of dispassion. The world, you begin to understand, the world cannot nourish you. All that you think you are receiving nourishment from the world, fake nourishment. Sit down with your accountant and study all your money situation. I'm joking, but the idea is no harm in that. But you are not working for real fulfillment. So Agni, mind must develop that maturity to understand happiness is not attained by staying in embodied state, staying confined to the body-mind set. This itself, your whole personality is body-mind complex, and that itself is transient. If something transient gains a lot of possession, one transient personality getting lots of transient things, that's not real attainment. That's entertainment for foolish mind, but nothing real. Real is where you begin to gain insight. First insight, not to look for happiness in the world that goes on perishing. That's called Agni, fire. Second step is called Jyoti. Now your intellect becomes insightful, as if you have a lamp in your hand. And you begin to understand, in the light of Vivek, you begin to understand the source of all that is good lies in your own heart. The source of which is enlightenment is possible through an internal movement. And you have that type of understanding, Vivek, that real I am is separate from the world that is world of matter. Self and not self. There is a division between the two. In practical life, it's both become confused. Agni Jyoti Aha. When these two great qualities begin to develop, Viveka and Vairagya, daily life you live not for collecting worries and anxieties, but watching the progress, converting your adversity into austerity. Therefore, adversity is not degrading you, making you strong. It is an opportunity. Turning your prosperity into increasing purity of heart and humility, making you more generous, more relaxed to meet God. So adversity and prosperity both become purposeful. If that is so, you make your every day the best day. Our term comes for that. Every day is perfect. You don't have to look for the weather, what weather is coming. You don't have to look into your information on who is going to meet me, what type of job I have to do. But no matter how things happen, it's because God is behind it and God loves you. So loving God is with you, presenting every situation. Better still, you are in the arms of the mother, you are just a baby. So, nothing to worry about. Agni Jyoti, Shukla. Then comes a stage, then comes within your heart, a big change begins to occur. And that change becomes purity of feeling. It is described like moon shining in the clear sky. Clear sky, not so interesting. The moon begins to shine. So divine love begins to blossom through your heart. Every human being has that potentiality. Because no human being is individual. Intrinsically, every human being is universal. Your body is universal. You may go on thinking it is mine, but cabbages and cauliflowers know better. Your body, mind, intellect, they have been drawn from the universe. The wave is never individually real. It's always a part of the universal. Now that sense of universality begins to enter in your heart, and that opens the door to a goal that will blow your mind away. The attainment that you cannot imagine. Mind doesn't have the capacity. Even the words used as immortality, Ananda, absolute, Satchidananda, even those words are meant to lead you on. They are not in themselves complete picture. So, as Agni Jyotiha Shukla, this is called Shukla Paksh, just like moon goes on waxing, becoming more and more until it becomes full moon. Similarly, that divine feeling begins to blossom. And then what happens? Shanamasa Uttarayanam. Sun adopts northern course of journey, northern movement of the sun, which means daylight begins to increase more and more until you have the longest day. But this type of description is allegorical, symbolic. Your consciousness that was only in the terms of 12 and 12, 12 during the day, 12 during the night. I'm still speaking allegorically. Consciousness that was confined to a practical limit. Now it begins to break that practical limit. Your night shortens, day advances. Your ignorance diminishes, your knowledge increases. Your consciousness is no longer gripped by ignorance. Rather, it gets ungripped gradually until it becomes completely free. That's allegorical description of steps leading to enlightenment. He who is abandoning the various states of ignorance and is ascending the heights of wisdom, and Yoga Vasistha has given another picture of ascending steps called Jnana Bhumikas. I have talked various times and I will just give you again summary of it. First step is aspiration. Soon I am going to detail on it. What are the characteristics of having aspiration for enlightenment? Briefly, if you are developing Vivek and Vairagya, and if you are developing certain qualities like control of mind and senses, serenity of mind, strength of faith, endurance, tranquility of mind, if you are developing these, and you become interested in developing these, just like a merchant is interested in getting more and more money. Here you are becoming a divine merchant. Then you are called then you have reached the first step called aspiration. Next step, vicharana. You begin to discover who am I. Your mind goes into that direction. Nothing is as fascinating as the project of diving in your own personality to find who you are. Not seeing in the mirror, external mirror, but finding yourself in the inner mirror of your mind. But in order to see yourself in the mirror of your mind, you have to remove 3 impediments. The dust over the mirror is impurity. Free yourself malas. Free yourself of distraction. If mala has removed but your hand is shaking, can't see your face. And finally, avarana. Even if everything is well set, but your hair comes streaming down your eyes, a veil comes in, you can't see your face. So, vicharana is a process of working with your mind as if mind is a mirror and removing these 3 impediments. As you continue, then comes the third step, tanumanasi. All the impurities that you had before governing you, they begin to thin out. Fourth step, you succeeded to such an extent, called sattvapatti. Sattva has become predominant. Now there is no way you can go backward. You may not have full experience of enlightenment, but that doesn't matter. But you cannot go backward. The only possibility before you is go on moving closer and closer to the fullness of enlightenment. When you come to that state, that is called Jivan Mukti. Liberation in life. That's your goal. Whatever else happens, it will sahaj, spontaneous. You have nothing to worry about. Secure yourself in such a way that you cannot go back. If that you have done, that's all is needed. Bravo. And then following the 7 steps, at 4th step, you have attained liberation. But after that, your personality goes through a change. Asam Sakti, 5th step, which means in the beginning stage, you have just attained, come close to enlightenment, you are enlightened, but not absolute fullness of enlightenment. Then you have the ability to handle all things and then stay detached. In other words, you can handle glue, etc., and then wash off. You have perhaps success in handling things, challenging situations, and stay back untouched. Second stage, your hand is already filled with glue. You have wiped your hand with oils. Now you can handling gluey things like bananas, platanos, jackfruits. They don't touch your hand. It's called Asam Sakti. And then you come to a state as calm and quiet as you were in your deep sleep, without disturbing your practical reality. It's called Padartha Bhavana. And all this serialization stops. leaving you to the unknown, the absolute, eternity. That's called Turiya. These are the 7 steps of ascending steps of wisdom. But don't worry about all the ascending steps. Come to that 4th step. Be secure, we are not going backward. Who has gained the intuitional knowledge that all this is Brahman, or the Supreme Self. He alone is truly awake. That's real wakefulness. In practical life, you experience 3 states: Jagrat, Swapna, Sushupti. Jagrat, you are awake. When you go to the bed, you begin to have dreams, and then you experience deep sleep. These 3 states are mixed in your daily life even when you don't go to sleep. When you are listening to satsang, sometimes some things are more soothed to your mind, soothing, and you go to sleep. A part of your mind sleeps. A part dreams. And a part is awake. All 3 are going on always. But for beginners, you point out distinctly, this is your waking state. When you go into the bed, will be dream state. And then you will have deep sleep while you are in your bed. But all the 3 are working at all times. In different degrees. You have more wakefulness, or more dream, or more sleep-like. But these 3 steps are in a negative direction. Your dream state, if your waking state is +1, your dream state is -2. Your sleep state is -3. You are not going 1, 2, 3 higher, you are going backward. But even the waking state that people understand, this is waking, spiritually it is not positive state, it is a minus stage. But when you develop a spiritual aspiration, then you are really considered awake. When you are aware of what your purpose is, what a grand opportunity you have that you are in human embodiment, and what should be your opportunities, and how should you allow your opportunities to be utilized for attaining liberation. When that idea comes in your mind, you are awake, Jagrat. If you come into Tanu Manasi state, when impurities have moved away, your anger, hate, etc. have become thinned out, now you are coming, you see the same world, but you are not so much struck by the world. You are like in a state where you are caught in a dream with a sense that it is a dream. So you are going from waking state, you are going to dream state. But dream state, which is a positive counterpart of your normal dream. Normal dream is minus. Positive counterpart is a positive development. Similarly, sleep is the highest development. And beyond sleep is ultimate climax. So until one has developed those qualities of vivek, vairagya, one is not awake. That's why scriptures go on uttering these words, wake up, arise. In satsanga, sometimes many people have come and the teacher starts saying, wake up, arise. They look at each other, we are all awake. He who has renounced all enjoyments, ranging from the plane of Hiranyagarbha to the plane of tiny insects, in saying words is so quick. Renunciation of the world process. You must understand, as long as you are existing confined to a triad, seer, seen and sight. In dream what happens? There are three factors. Dream subject is the seer. Dream world is sight. And then you have experiences in the dream world. But all that dream is not real. He alone is truly awake, while others still slumber in the night of ignorance. He who has renounced all enjoyments, that's what was my topic. So when you come to see your dream with a sense it is a dream, then what happens? Can you hold on to any object of your dream? Mind at once renounces the entire dream set. The dream world where there are big mountains and beautiful valleys and many good things are there in your dream, as well as little mosquitoes. When you wake up, can you take any one of those things? It's easy for the mind to understand, nothing belongs to me. This is all illusion. So when you say all illusion, it's an easy matter to understand. Even up to the state of description of Hiranyagarbha, where Brahmaloka, where you exist, it's ultimate pleasure, most pleasure, but it has a limit. Only the duration that you have is much greater than anywhere else. But then it has a duration. You can have 100 years of prosperity. You can. But again, 100 years goes away. If you are more of a clever scientist, you can have 1,000,000 years of prosperity. But it will go away. Even the Earth planet itself is not immortal. Nothing in the world is immortal. So ultimately, what are you waiting for? Counting your food day by day? So therefore, when mind has mature thinking, it's easy to grasp. Nothing really can give you absolute fulfillment. And when that understanding has become mature, it's called vairagya, paravairagya. But as long as vairagya is limited, one set of things you consider that are useless, but there are another set of things you imagine they are in heavenly world, will go to Gandharva world, will have a nice time, then will go to higher worlds of devas, and so forth. That all that is big allegorical descriptions, that people fall for those temptations. His mind becomes calm, like an ocean without waves. That's the sattvapatti state, when mind has, an attainment of enlightenment has occurred. His spirit being free of all vasanas, subtle impressions operating in your subconscious. His spirit being free of all vasanas soars in the realms of transcendence, much like a bird being free from a fowler's nest or fowler's net. Freed from the black clouds of doubts and distractions, his mind shines like the full moon in the clear blue sky, or stretches like the vast ocean in a mirror-like stillness. What it implies, when the mind becomes absolutely calm, neither thinking of the past nor of future, then eternal self begins to reveal in your mind. Mind becomes like a lake, reflecting the sky. Same mind that is constantly making you aware of smallest little things, and you are gripped by those. Think of yourself seated by a lake, and lake is agitated. So you will look into the lake, you just see heads of some fishes coming up and down, and nothing more. But imagine, lake has become very extremely calm. Now we are looking into it, we're looking at the sky, looking at the sun, looking at swans soaring up to in the sky. Same lake now opens up a totally different vista. So from black clouds of doubts and distractions, his mind shines like the full moon in the clear blue sky, or stretches like the vast ocean in the mirror-like stillness. Endowed with such an illumined mind, a sage develops equal vision, seeing the self as the only reality behind all illusory names and forms. Equal vision has many stages. This broad is, climax is a full realization, all is Brahman. Ghat ghat mein hai Sai Ramta. In every little particle of this world there is indwelt by God. And in early stage, equal vision means every day is your opportunity. Don't look for a special day, a Vijay Lakshmi or and every individual has divine potentiality. We are looking at, put it in a simple way to understand, there are 5 pots with water. But water is in a different condition, and pots are not also the same. Some pots are shaking, some pots have dirty water. When you look at it, you see reflected sun. A child looks at it and says, that sun is in big trouble. It's being grabbed by the fish. And so forth. The wise one, the grown-up one, simply smiles. All that is happening, but the sun is just the same. That's called equal vision. You are seeing the difference, but at the same time not deluded by it. That's called samadrishti. And it applies in many levels. You deal with your relatives. Instead of getting too upset because of different moods and situations, your mind sees, no matter how people behave around you, each one is the same soul. But like patients coming in a hospital, and a loving head of the hospital, it welcomes them all. Some are shouting, some are shaking, some are trembling, but sees the healthy soul in each. Therefore, the hospital invites them. So that type of vision has to be there in the heart of one who wants to be a sage. And we don't have to want to be a sage, you have no choice. That's your absolute destiny. Whether you attain it now or later. Nourished by the service of preceptor, spurred by the sunshine and shower in the form of reflection and meditation, decked by the shining leaves of spiritual virtues, the lotus of virtue grows in the lake of the aspirant's mind and blooms into self-realization. Ponder over it. But don't get sunk in the pond. Okay. And with this we conclude. Om Trayambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushti Vardhanam Urvarukmiva Bandhanan Mrityor Mukshiyamamritat Sarve Bhavantu Sukhina Sarve Santu Niramaya Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kashchid Dukha Bhag Bhavet. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Shri Ramaya Namah.